All right, folks, let's go ahead and do this last assignment for this unit that we're on. This is advanced factoring by grouping, right? And my suggestion was just go ahead and group it according to how they show up, okay? You can always rearrange them if they don't work, but let's try it like this, right? So we have, from this grouping, we can factor out no numbers, but we can factor out x to the third, okay? Which means we have 2x left over and 3 left over, plus from the second grouping, we can factor out a negative 16 and 24. Let's go with 8, right? Let's factor out negative 8. So from the negative 16x, we're going to be left with positive 2x. And from the negative 24, we're going to be left with positive 3. You see it looks exactly the same as the other. So we're going to go ahead and take this and factor it out. Take this and factor it out. So we're going to have 2x plus 3, and we will also have x to the third minus 8. Okay, that plus minus makes a minus. Okay, in case you thought I was just pulling a fast one on you. But here it goes. That x to the third minus 8, that's actually, so that 8 is actually 2 to the third power. So 8 is actually 2 to the third power. And that right there, this is going to be a difference of, or not difference, this is going to be a difference of cubes. So you're going to set this up with SOAP. S for the same symbol, O for the opposite, so it's B plus, and then AP for always positive symbol, right? And then we have x to the third, so there's 3 x's. You can think of it like this. So you got 3 x's, you get 1 in the small factor in the front, and 2 in the small factor in the front, or in the bigger factor in the front, excuse me. But that x and x is actually going to come together and form an x to the second power. Okay, and we've already been through this. If you are not sure of this, go look back and look through my other videos. Okay, you got 2 to the third. Think of it as 3 2's in the back of the factor. So you're going to go ahead and put 1 in the back, and the other 2 you're going to put it in the back of the bigger factor. So that's 2 and 2, and together that makes 4. Okay, and in the middle it's going to be x and the 2, which is what you brought in from the top. And then don't forget that you also have the factor of 2x plus 3. All right, so together, this is your answer. So I'm keeping it in color so that way you can see that the x to the third minus the 2 to the third becomes an even bigger factor. Okay. Okay, next one, if you need, you can pause it. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of some of this stuff because I need a little bit more room for the next one. So I'm going to be doing this for going forward, okay? All right, number 2, I'm going to go ahead and group it just the way they are. So group it like this and group it like this. And we're going to go ahead and factor out what we can. In this case, we're going to factor out, let's see, x squared. Yep, so that leaves us with x squared minus y squared plus, and from the second grouping, we're going to go ahead and factor out a y, which will be left with x squared minus y squared. If you notice, those are exactly the same inside the parentheses, which means we're going to go ahead and take it and factor it out. Take it and factor it out. So that means we're going to have x squared minus y squared factored out. Okay. Left over is going to be your x squared. Sorry. Left over is going to be your x squared plus y. Okay. In this case, the black factors are going to factor out. This is going to turn into, and this is going to be a difference of squares. This is going to be x plus y and x minus y. You learned this back in math 2. And then you have your x squared plus y. This does not factor. Keep that in mind, guys. The blue factor in this case does not factor out. Again, that right there, what we did, this is called a difference of squares. All right, 3. We're going to go ahead and factor it according to the way it looks. So I'm going to go ahead and include that negative, but they are still terms, so we're going to go and put plus in the middle. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and factor out 16. 16, and I'm going to factor out a squared. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and factor out negative 100. Yeah, and that's going to leave me with, oh, I didn't even do the rest yet. I use green. So 32a to the third, factor out 16, meaning 32 divided by 16 is 2. A to the third, factor out 2 of them will leave me with a. Okay, plus 16 divided by 16 is 1, which I don't need to write down. A squared divided by a squared is 1, which I don't need to write down. And you have b left over. Okay. Negative 200 divided by negative 100 is 2, and then you have your a because you didn't factor that out. And you can see it's starting to look like this over here. And then negative 100 divided by negative 100 is 1, and then you just have your b. So negative divided by negative is positive, and then you just have your b. So again, it does look like what we have over there. Okay, and we're going to go ahead and take that and factor it out, meaning pull it outside. So 2a plus b. And then left over, we will have our 16a squared minus that plus minus makes minus 100. And this right here, this is another difference of squares. Okay, so that's going to be, because you notice 16 is 4 times 4, and a squared is a times a, so it's 4a, 4a. 100 is 10 times 10, and then to get a minus, you need a plus and a minus. Right, and then you also have that 2a plus b. That's your answer. Okay. Number 4, we're going to go ahead and let's just group it the way it is, right? So let's group it like this. Okay, so what can we take out of here, right? What can I factor out of 128 and 250? And you may need to use a calculator because I'm going to use one. So 128 divided by, looks like maybe, I don't know, 2, 64. And 250 divided by 2, 125. Okay. So looks like I can take out a 2, and looks like I can take out a an S also, because they both. So I'm going to go ahead and do that with take out a 2 and take out an S. And you know what? For the heck of it, I'm going to go ahead and take out a negative. So just because I don't like seeing the negative in front. So negative 128 divided by negative 2 is going to be 64. And I'm taking out the S, so I will have T to the third left. Oh, let me put that in purple. So I will have a negative 64, and I will have a T left over. And negative or positive 250S divided by negative 2 is going to give me a negative. Actually, yeah, negative. And this one's going to be positive. That was my bad. This is going to be positive because negative divided by negative is positive. 64T. So that 250 divided by 2 is going to be 125. And then the S is gone also. Okay, and then I will have positive. And then from here, from 192 and 357. Okay, so 192 divided by, you definitely can't divide it by 2. Let's try 3. Oh, 64. 375. I might have said 357 divided by 3. So you get 64 and 125, right? Which actually matches with what we just did. Okay, so if I divide it by 3, so if I divided 3 out of it, okay, so 3 into 192 is actually 64, and actually that matches. And then 3, or don't forget my to the third, 3 into 375 is going to give me negative 125. You see these matches? Oops, let me get rid of this stuff. Okay, again, if you need it, just rewind it. Like the old saying, back when we used to go and rent videos, and instead of having to stream videos from Netflix, be kind, please rewind. Right? But you might notice that this right here can factor out because it's the same as this, which is factored out. So you're going to factor out 64t, I forgot the third here, minus 125. And then left over is going to be your negative 2s plus 3. And if you want, you can rearrange this around and write it as 3 minus 2s. Either way is fine. Okay, I'm just going to leave it the way it is. Oops. I'm going to leave it the way it is. Okay. Now this one, forgot my little 3 here. This is actually going to be 64, I believe, is 4 to a third. So let's see. 4 to a third, 64. And 125 is 5 to a third. Okay, so we can rewrite this as 4t to a third minus, this is 5 to a third. Okay, so that right there, I can rewrite this as, I'm going to use my SOAP because this is definitely usable because these are cubes. So SOAP. So same as the minus, opposite of as the minus, and always positive. So we're going to use 4t and 4t squared, which is going to be 16t squared. In the back, we're going to use 5, and then in the back, we're going to use 5 squared, which is 25. And in the middle, it's going to be 4 up here. Look up here, 4t and 5. So that's going to be 20t. Okay. And that pretty much wraps up our answer. Don't forget your negative 2s plus 3. Okay, or you can put 3 minus 2s. 3 take away 2s could also be your answer. Okay. Last two. So I'm going to go ahead and group it the way it is. Okay, and this one includes a minus, so I'm going to go ahead and put a plus in between it just to help me separate it. And I'm going to go ahead and factor out what I can. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and factor out. Start with right here. A squared. Yep, that's about it. So factor a squared, it'll leave me with a to a third minus. And if I factor out a squared, it's going to leave me with b to a third. Plus. Okay, and this one, between these two, I'm going to factor out a negative b squared. Because that's the most you can take out from both of these b's. So a negative divided by a negative is going to be positive, and you take out the b squared, you're going to be left with a to the third. And again, it should match with this. And then a b to the third divided by b to the second. Positive divided by negative is a negative. and then b to the third. Oh, actually, no. That would leave me with a b. Right? Let's see. Yeah, so if I take out b to the second, that'll leave me with b, and it'll be a negative. It'll be a to the third minus b. Take out a to the second. Notice that these actually don't match up. So I have to group them in a different way because this doesn't actually work. Unless that b should have been 5. I think that should have been 5. I really think this should have been 5. Let's see if we can match them up in a different way. Let's see. Okay, so hold that thought, right? So let's reorganize them in a different way. Let's go a to the 5th and a and this right here together. So let's group it as a to the 5 minus a to the third, b to the second. And then let's group this with this right here, negative a to the second, b to the third, along with b to the third. Okay, so let's see what we can take out from there. So it looks like I can take out a to the third, and left would be a to the second, and left would be b to the second, plus. And from these two, looks like I can do a b to the third. Looks like I can factor out a b to the third. Yeah. And left over, I will have a to the second, negative a to the second, plus b. Oh, no more b's, plus 1. Okay. And again, you see that this actually doesn't work. So I group the first two together. I group the first and the second, the third together. It doesn't work. Okay. And if I group the first and the last, it doesn't work, then that means that we actually don't have it working. So I may have to double check. Maybe that might be a typo on my part when I retyped it out. Okay, that might have to be a 5. Okay. So that doesn't work because what we have inside the parentheses doesn't match up. Okay, even if I change the a to a positive a and then 1 to negative 1, even if I change it to that, it'd be a squared minus 1. That doesn't work either. Okay. So I group a5 with a2, b3, and I also group a5. So I did this already, right? So I tried this and this together, and that did not work. It almost did. I tried this recently, and it did not work. So let's try this. Okay, so we're going to go with a5 plus b3, and they actually have nothing in common. This is probably not going to work. And then I'm going to group these two together. But, you never know. Let's try it out. So let's go ahead and take out a negative, which will make both of them positive. So it'd be a squared b3 plus a3 b2. So let's see what they have in common. So this is nothing, right? I can't do anything. So I'm just going to say, you know what? I can take out a 1. a5 plus b3. Okay. But this right here looks like I can take out a2 from both of these. So it looks like I'm going to factor out a squared. And I can also factor out b2. So let's put that in red. So let's say we have a 1 there that they have in common, and a2, b2. What's left over? So if I take out a second here, that's gone. If I take out b second, I'm left with b plus. And if I take out a second, I'll be left with a, and b second, I'll be left with no b. So if you see how this works, this also doesn't work. So this one Unless I messed up typing it in, and that should have been a b to the 5 at the back. This right here should not work. And I have a feeling that it should have been, but I just mistyped it. Okay. So this one is not factorable. Okay. So as it is, not factorable. I thought I saw some of you guys doing it a little different way, but maybe you messed up somewhere, or maybe I messed up 3 times. Right? So let's get it going on this. Okay. Try not to dwell too much on things. Okay, let's group it like this and like this with a plus, just the way it is. Let's say we factor out an 8 on that first part. So left over, so 216 divided by 8. $27. And I know what 8 divided by 8 is. So 216 divided by 8, if I take an 8 out, it's 27. And then that's going to be 8 divided by 8 is 1, which I don't have to write, and then y to the third. Plus, right here, I think I'm going to take out a negative to make both those positive. And then it looks like the x to the third they both have. So I'm going to go ahead and factor negative x to the third out. So left over, so 27 divided by negative x to the third is going to be 27. Right, so that means the x to the third just goes away, and the negative goes away because I'm divided by negative. Negative x to the third, y to the third, I'm just divided by negative, which means it's positive, and then the x to the third goes away, which I get y to the third. So this one actually does work out. Okay, so I'm going to take this and I'm going to factor it out. Okay, so I'm factoring out a 27 plus y to the third. Left behind is just an 8 minus x to the third. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and write each of these. Each of these are going to be difference or sum of cubes. So 27 is actually 3 to the third, and y to the third is just y to the third. X to the third, or excuse me, 8 is actually 2 to the third, minus an x to the third is just x, the quantity x to the third. Which in this case, I can rewrite this as a small factor and a large factor. And this one, I can write it as a small factor and a large factor. Okay? So this is going to be 1 3 in the front, 2 3s in the front, so that'd be 9. In the back, 1 y in the back, 2 y's in the back, that'd be y squared. In the middle, be 3 and y, so it'd be 3y. And you need to use SOAP, which is S for same, O for opposite, and AP for always positive. And over here, I'm going to use, there's 3 2, so 1 2 in the front, and 2 2's in the front here, which is going to make 4. X to the third, 1x in the back, and 2 x's in the back, which is x and x is x squared. Maybe a little more room there. Okay, and then 2 and x goes in the middle. And you will need to use SOAP again. So same as the minus, O as an opposite, and then always positive. Okay, so your answer are all 4 of these. And that's, I think I have a feeling this is what should have happened with the last one, with number 5. But like I said, I think I messed up and I copied it down wrong.